So good morning, and how are you this morning? And I hope you're well and have had a really good weekend and sort of time away doing whatever you want to do. Just busy with family and friends and things. So just sort of keeping everything rolling through the sort of the start of early spring anyway. So this morning, what I want to talk about is pelvic floor health and the pelvic floor, and it's a topic that has I'm very passionate about because I've had 4 children and I've had vaginal deliveries for all 4 of them, and it has stretched my internals a lot, and I actually suffer with a prolapse. So with that in mind, and with all the exercise and the work I do, I've had to be very mindful of what I can and can't do to improve my pelvic floor health. So based on my own personal experience, but then with all the research that I've done and the training that I've done with various different providers, it's just bringing everything together so that I can bring something to you that's really useful and doable. And the first thing to do is to have awareness of pelvic floor weaknesses. And you may already know that you do have a pelvic floor weakness. You might not know that you've got a pelvic floor weakness. And as we sort of get older through life and whatever, the elasticity and the stretchiness of our muscles, it doesn't go bad straight away. It just tends to, we lose that sort of strength just very slowly, little bit by little bit. And what I want to do this morning is just to bring sort of awareness back round to the pelvic floor area and the pelvic girdle, so that we can sort of think, oh, actually, maybe if I do, or I'll try this. And it's all really doable exercises. It's for men and for women. And the first thing I want you to know is you are not broken. This is something that we can improve. We can improve our awareness over. So you're not broken at all in any way, shape or form. And we want to improve the healing and the movement so that your awareness of your pelvic floor, of the pelvic girdle, will help to improve if you have any leaking, or when you go to the loo that you have any issues there. So we want to increase there are 3-4 things that you need to really think about. So increasing your mobility and having a good strategy for core strength. So that's the first thing. So improving the mobility in your hips and in the rest of the body, actually, because it's not just targeting this area, although a lot of it is targeting the pelvic area. So the second thing that we need to do is we need to learn how not to bear down, to squash the pelvic floor. We need to learn not to do that, or anyway have an awareness so that we don't do that. And then we need to work on reducing the pressure in the pelvic floor. So once you've got that awareness, you then need to start to be aware of how to reduce that pressure. And then we need to do some exercises, and there are a few favourite exercises, and there's actually 4 that are really sort of crucial, that target the pelvic floor area. So we were going to do this during the week, so this is going to be a series of little morning sessions, so stick with me during the week. So having an awareness of whether you've got pelvic floor issues or not, you can do this. This is for everybody. It's not just for people with pelvic floor issues. So what I would like you to do is becoming aware of whether you actually bear down or not. So we're going to just go through a few things, and then I'd like you to spend the day thinking about whether you do bear down or not. So what does bearing down on the pelvic floor, on the muscles in the pelvic floor, what does that actually feel like? So I've got 2 or 3 visualizations here for you. So the first one is if you had a balloon in your tummy. So imagine you've got a balloon here in your tummy, and as you're standing, I want you to think about squashing squashing that balloon down. So this is a visualization to feel your pelvic floor. Okay, so imagine you have a balloon in your tummy and it's been blown up, so you've got this big blown up colourful balloon in your tummy. So I want you to think about squashing the top of your balloon. So as you're standing, just think about squashing the top of the balloon. That's it. So just a moment. I actually have a balloon here. So to really help, it's a 90th birthday balloon. Anyway, so you've got your balloon in your tummy, and I want you to think about squashing the top of your balloon as you stand. So as you stand up, your balloon is nice and pumped up and fine. So then, as you lean forwards, or whatever you do in your mind, I want you to think about pressing the top of your balloon. So you press the top of the balloon, and as you do that, notice how the bottom of your pelvic floor feels. So you're standing up tall and just think about squashing the top of the balloon. So for me, I'm just letting my ribs drop down onto that, and I can really feel my pelvic floor push away. I'm not trying to hold it, I'm just trying to notice it, being aware of it. So what does that feel like? So as you press down, the balloon presses down, out to the sides and forward and backwards, so the air has got to go somewhere. Another way that you can perhaps visualize bearing down is if you're trying to push a baby out. So I do realize that not everybody watching this is a woman and not everybody has had children, but it's that feeling of pushing out. Or you could think about pushing a stool out, having a big poo, so really pushing down, that bearing down. So what does that feel like? So just sort of see for yourself, don't do it all day, but just see what that feels. And the other thing is you may unintentionally be pushing down, and so this can be resolved, so we can do something about it. So if you're not sure and you think you might be continually pushing down, so what does your posture look like? Are you folded forward? Are you leaning forwards? Because that is going to be pushing down on your pelvic floor all the time. So you're not going to be able to do anything about it. So for today, for this day, day one, I want you to think about, are you bearing down or not? Now the other thing is if you are continually constipated, and when you go to the loo, are you continually pushing down when you go to the loo? So it might be every time you have a stool, you sit on the loo and you push. That is going to have an effect on your pelvic floor. It's going to push it down, make it weaker. So all I'd like you to do for today is to, as you move around, notice, are you bearing down on your pelvic floor? Is this something that's going on with you all the time? Just notice it. See whether you do that or not. And if you are, and you think, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'd like you to think about lifting up your chest so that you're not doing that bearing down. So it might be that you drive, you're doing computer work, you're doing a lot of sitting. That will really affect it. So if you are, I want you to go from leaning forward, I want you to go to trying to sit up. So as you stand up, you'll release that pressure. So just go from being forwards to then standing up, and notice if the pressure is released. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I hope that was food for thought, and I'd like you to spend the day looking, feeling, noticing if you're doing any bearing down. And if you're not sure or you don't think you are, come along tomorrow and we'll do some tests for that to see whether we actually are bearing down or not. So I hope that was helpful, and don't panic. We will be able to do some exercises for this to help improve. So stay with me for the whole week and we'll work through this together. All right, lots of love. Take great care. Start to get awareness of your pelvic floor and we'll work through this together. All right, lots and lots of love, and take care.